Welcome to Fairy Ring Locked. I made this website where I have an overview of all fairy rings and the chunks they belong to. I can also rank them in a tier list. So for example, I find the fairy ring CLS A tier. I can open the tier list, find the corresponding fairy ring, then I can put it in A tier. And as you can see, it now also gets visually updated. There are also some fairy rings that aren't on the map, and I can see those with this button here. So these are the fairy rings that are either underground or in an instance. In Zea, we have the fairy ring DJR. This is the place where Yama resides. Yama is one of Old School RuneScape's strongest bosses. The goal of this series is to defeat Yama all by myself. I know a thing or two about Yama. Literally 2 things. I know you have to jump fast on rocks, and when there's a literal fucking meteor coming at you, you somehow need to stand still and tank it instead of running for your life. I won't just be defeating Yama without something special. Recently, I did the Lumbridge Elite Diary, and as a reward I can use fairy rings without a Draymond staff. This made me think about fairy rings a lot, and here we are. I'm locking my account to fairy rings with nothing in my bank and nothing on me with the following rule set. A fairy ring belongs to a chunk. I am only allowed to use chunks that contain a fairy ring. This means that I will not be unlocking any new chunks, and all the chunks that contain a fairy ring are unlocked from the start. I need to follow the Iron Man rule set. When a fairy ring chunk either contains or is in a dungeon or instance, I can access that whole area. I will explain this rule in more detail later. And lastly, I'm not allowed to do clue scrolls or hunt for implings. You might already have heard this from other YouTube series, but a chunk is a 64 by 64 tile area, so that is all the space I can use from a fairy ring chunk if it's not in a dungeon or instance. Did you know that a fairy ring has 3 slots, each having 4 options, and 4 times 4 times 4 also equals 64? Coincidence? I think not. Unfortunately, not all 64 slots are in use. In fact, there are 56 fairy ring locations that are currently in the game. The first episode will mostly be about exploring the available chunks we have. The fairy rings that need to be placed on the tier list are sorted alphabetically, so I will just start at the first one. So to kick off, we have fairy ring AIQ. The account I'm going to be using in this series is my main account. Here is an overview of the current stats. I completely wiped the account before I started. I literally have 0 items in my bank. I also have very limited Iron Man knowledge, so I'm going to be learning some new things along the way. Here we are in the first fairy ring chunk. So let's see what I can do in this chunk, but I expect not much. I see 2 red dots on the map, so let's check that out. It's a boot and a broken fishing rod. This is a stash unit. Regarding those, I built a couple of stash units for the first time a couple of days ago in preparation to clean my whole bank. So obviously I am not allowed to take any items out of that. So let's see what else we have here. There's a signpost. Beware of the mud skippers. Okay, this feels like dead content. If I would have one chunk further up north, there would be a dungeon. So regarding my third rule, let's say that the fairy ring was in this chunk, then I would have access to the whole dungeon. But anyway, there is nothing I can do here. So let's head over to the website. We open the tier list and AIQ is going in the F tier. Up next we have AIR. Wow, another island where you're stuck on. Regarding situations like this, where the fairy ring is on an island and you cannot walk over to the mainland, I am allowing it that if I have a way to directly get into the chunk without going through other locked chunks, in that scenario I'm allowed to, for example, if there is a direct teleport here, that I can use that. But in this case that is not available. So that's a fast one. Let's go to the website. And another F tier, since there's basically nothing I can do. I'm seeing the fairy ring next in line, and I feel like there is something we can do there, based on the amount of icons I see. So let's go over to AIS. Now we are in Varlamore. I see magic trees here. That could be very good to make a magic short bow, for example. I saw the ants, which I cannot attack. Not sure how that works. This whole area is very skilling based. So far I only see that I can admire stuff and monsters that I cannot attack. Maybe I was wrong about this chunk. Well, I mean, if I would have an axe and a knife, I could get a start on the magic logs, but I would need a bowstring as well. And I have no idea how I would be able to get that. Because I would need flags as well. I could get flags from the random event, so that would be no problem. I have no idea yet if I am able to access a spinning wheel in one of my chunks though. But we will find out. I'm going to check out these totem sites. I want to get on top of here without running out of my chunk. Okay, you're not sure what to do with that. Maybe there's someone in the valley who does. So it's back to the NPCs. So I just checked the wiki. I first have to do the Fell Totems mini game or mini quest to be able to interact with this. I mean, I will just start the quest help and see where I get stuck on. Or not even start it at all. Okay, so this is something I cannot do. I have to be in another chunk to even start the minigame. This was not what I expected. It's not quite a chunk without content. If I unlock an axe and a knife, I can come back here and chop the magic tree and turn it into one part of the magic shortbow. But basically there's nothing else to do here. Okay, but mainly for the reason of having magic logs available, with potentially getting a magic short bow. I think that's worth at least like C tier. Yup. Okay, up next is AGB. Another Valamora fairy ring. That is something that was so noticeable when making the website and stuff. The amount of fairy rings in comparison. Valamora has 3 fairy rings in total. Zeya has like 5 in total. But then over in the mainland, it gets crazy sometimes. Like here, for example, we have 4 fairy rings so close to each other. Here as well. And this one especially, it's crazy. There are 2 fairy rings in the same chunk. This one is basically useless, I assume. But we will see once we get there, which is not that far away. Back to the current chunk. So there's another monster I cannot interact with, which seems to be quite common in Valamor. I will also focus on red dots on the map. So we have a spade here. Some cabbages. Master farmer I could pickpocket. So let's do that for a bit. Also a citizen I can pickpocket. That might be more useful, I think. I'm not sure where I would even farm these, but we will see. Or if I even have access to, let's say, a herb patch, which would be very nice since I'm 99 farming. I don't think there are herb patches in the fairy ring chunks. This is also a range if I ever need it. And an imp.
Bye, have a great time!
Wow, it just teleported immediately when I attacked it. Oh, I did some of the hunter minigames a long time ago. For the Quetzal whistle, because I wanted that to unlock a direct teleport here, close to the herb patch. There's one more house I could check. Some chickens as well if I need feathers. Doesn't seem to be anything special left. Okay, so the noticeable unlocks we have from here are the Master Farmer and pickpocketing citizens, but that's very bad GP. The Master Farmer, however, might be the only useful thing here. Alright, so when I'm comparing that to potentially magic logs and a magic shortbow, I'm gonna place this in D tier. The only noticeable thing was a Master Farmer. Up next is our first underground fairy ring, AJQ. This is a fairy ring where I have been often. It is actually in my favorites, because I've been here often for tutorial skipping on my Slayer task. There is cave slimes and also cave bugs. I know if I go in there right now, I don't have a light source, so I'm going to die. But the cool thing is that, let's say I go to the dungeon and I die, my respawn point is in Edgeville, and that is also in one of the fairy ring chunks. So that's very useful. So if I die, I just respawn over here, and it's in my area that I've already unlocked. So that's very cool. So let's drop some of this and go over there. Okay, so I need to be somewhere north. I've also marked the monsters for my Slayer task. Somewhere up here should be a ladder. And I'm starting to take damage. Oh, here it is. And I'm still taking damage. I was hoping that the damage would stop when I went up. I'm not sure where I went even. I think this is the agility course. Yeah, I'm probably dead. Can I go back? Yes. Maybe this one? No, it's a grapple option. Oh no, here. There we go. So yeah, I just unlocked a huge city. I already see some great things, like there's a furnace here, water source, an anvil as well, so I can potentially smith some armor there. Yeah, this place is huge. In all the years I've been playing, I went over here a couple of times to this spot right here to exchange my long and curved bones for cash and construction XP. If I'm correct, I also have access to the Lumbridge dungeon. That would be very nice because I can buy a Dorgian crossbow there. However, I need to find out how to even get there from here. We also just unlocked a bank. So yeah, this place is amazing. But that we have a bank as well is very nice. And as you can see, 0 out of 940 slots. And this is all bugged because I had a bunch of bank tags. But since I do not have any items, it all merged together here. So let's put my first items in. Wow, this must be quite a high thieving chest. Or it's because I do not have a lockpick. I'm 75 thieving. Okay, so I need level 78 thieving for this. There is a lower level variant available as well, for which I need 52 thieving. There is a bullseye lantern on the drop table, and that is part of a light source, which is something I need. However, both require a lockpick. That is something I do not have, unfortunately. So yeah, maybe I can make use of this later on, either by finding a way to boost my thieving or potentially trading it. Depends on how necessary it is. Back to the main objective of finding the goblin that sells the Dorgian crossbow. But man, this place is confusing. I know it's not actually in the city, it's like somewhere between this city and the Lumbridge dungeon. Oh, maybe it's this one. Yup, that should be it. So I need to get there. Oh, I was actually very close already. And what is this? More to pickpocket. Oh wow, I just got the bullseye lantern. Maybe I'll come back to this guy. Let's find out how much I even need for the Dorgian crossbow. Oh damn. I know there is somewhere in the dungeon where you get a message about it being dark, but you do not actually take damage, because I often went to the Tears of Guttix and I just teleported there with the games necklace without a light source, which was completely fine. The only thing that happens is that your screen is a bit darker than usual, but you don't take any damage at all. But here it is completely dark. This is not gonna work yet. Let's try finding a light source. I'm just gonna keep pickpocketing this cave goblin for a bit. I got the bullseye lantern on my first try, so let's just check out what else is on the drop table. I need some coins as well to buy the Dorgian crossbow with some ammo. Let's go, there's a tinderbox. Now an oil lantern. This means I have my light source fixed, as well as an unlit torch. Well, let's go over to the shop now. Wait, what am I seeing here? The cellar? No way, I can go to the Lumbridge basement. This means I can buy Barrow's gloves. That's insane. I'm for sure checking that out after I've bought the Dorgian crossbow. Okay, so it's 2k. 350 coins. Alright, let's buy one of those. Back to thieving. My first random event when starting the series, and it's the beekeeper one, which I need to get flags. Well, I probably can get flags elsewhere in one of the chunks, but not one that I currently have knowledge of. I just need to pick it up on the ground. There we go, 7 flags. So once I find a knife, I'm going back to the chunk in Varlamore and chop the magic logs. Afterwards, I only need to find a bowstring and then I can make a magic shortbow. I just went on thieving until my coin pouches are full. Now I should have more than enough to buy the Dorgian crossbow. I have 3.5k to work with, so I'm buying the crossbow as well as some ammo. Now I have my first decent weapon. A 17 straight off the bat. Normally I only see low level Iron Men using this weapon, so let's check out the cellar. Yep, and here is the Lumbridge basement. Amazing to find. The chest here also has some food options that sell for quite cheap if I'm correct. So I need 104k for the Barrow's gloves. 5.2k for the rune gloves. There's also a kitchen knife here. I'm not sure if that would work on magic logs. And wow, it's 8.3k. Never mind. I will probably find a knife pretty soon anyway. By the way, a lot of red dots in this basement, so let's check that out. We have a cabbage right here, that's not useful. A bucket. Wow, as we speak. A knife. Let's take that. A jug. And leather boots. The spider also drops nothing, I believe. Let's go back into the caves. The plan is to buy rune gloves and then move on to the next chunk. Very nice upgrade. It's just a decent all-rounder for all combat stats. Let's open the website. Here we are. Let's open the tier list. AGK is going in S tier. Up next is AGR. Let's check it out. It's the chunk over here. With something special as well, because this is the Fremennik Slayer Cave. Now we have the Slayer Cave. I suppose that's also the only thing worth mentioning in the chunk. Yep, so the Slayer Cave is the only thing I can do in this chunk. Up first we have cave crawlers, and I believe they also poison. Yeah, I just got poisoned. If I'm correct, the poison damage is only like 2 or 3, so I should be fine. Oh no, it's 8, wow. That might actually be pretty bad. I don't believe they drop an anti-poison. To be honest, as we have discussed before, it's completely fine if I die, because I will just respawn in Edgeville. Next up we have rock slugs, and they drop a hammer 1 in 12. It could be useful. The next monster is cockatrice. Only noticeable drop are mystic boots, 1 in 512. Next in line, fire fiends. They drop a steel axe, 1 in 32. So I have an axe, a knife, and I can chop the magic trees. Okay, that's actually what I'm going for. So when I die I will come back here and get the steel axe. Here we have basilisks. These drop a mithril axe, 1 in 42. A mystic head, 1 in 512. and no other noticeable drops. I also cannot fight them, I need a mirror shield. 2 rods also require a specific weapon. First official death. Here we are in Edgeville. I'm not going into detail yet about this chunk, but you might expect where this one is going. Back to the Pyrofiends, because it's now time to get the steel axe. This time I brought my Dorktion crossbow. I wish I could get like an Avas, assembler, accumulator or a range skill cape, so I have the ammo saving effect. I'm not sure if that's possible. There it is, steel axe. I currently do not have the equipment for the monsters further in the cave, because you need special weapons to deal damage. So for now, let's get out of here and go back to the Valamore chunk for the magic logs. Let's go over to AIS. Here's the magic tree. Let's chop a magic log. Expected that to take a lot longer. Now I need to make the actual bow and afterwards find a bowstring. Now let's cut this magic short bow. Oh my god, are you kidding me? I don't have the required fletching level. I hope you enjoyed this first episode. Leave a like to support me and I will see you in the next episode. Have a great day.